Welcome into the Hard Count. It is May 16th. Thursday, May 16th, 2024, the last one on the face of the planet. Glad to have y'all here. This is not going to be a typical show for us here on the Hard Count. It's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to, okay? We're going to have a full-on rankings reveal for you, our top 25 teams in the country. We're going to jump into those here in just a minute. But before we get to that, I want us to unpack together how we feel about how we put these top 25 lists together. Because when I put together my top 25, I did my best not to project. I did my best to sort of take a look at what these teams are right now and then kind of take inventory of where we stand. And not so much a prediction of, well, if this thing breaks this way for this team, if this team, wins this game. Like, yes, we take a look at the schedule, we take a look at how they shape up. But for the most part, we do our best to kind of take inventory of what they are right now. Now, before we get to that, some teams that missed the cut. Not everybody made it. A couple teams missed the cut. I was super close to putting Virginia Tech at 25. Didn't end up doing that. They're number one in returning production. They finished the year winning 5 out of their last 7. I think Brent Pryce got something cooking out there in Blacksburg. Couldn't force myself to do it. Florida, as much hate as they're getting online right now, I think they actually have a pretty solid case to be considered a top 25 team based on the roster alone. If you took Florida and dropped them into the ACC or dropped them into the Big 12, I think we view them very differently. Their schedule is absolute Hunger Games, but given the fact they went 5-7, again, for me, it would be a lot of projecting what they could be, so we're not going to do that. They didn't make the top 25. NC State, I think, would make a lot of sense. Couldn't force yourself to do that either. Regardless, though, we will get to our top 25 right now. We're glad to have y'all here. Make sure you are doing 2 things. 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. 2, subscribe to the podcast feed. So if you're watching live in real time, we appreciate y'all, man. This is college football, nothing but college football all year round. We're starting to round that corner. Starting around that corner where we're out of spring ball, and you peek over the hill, you see fall camp on the horizon. We're getting game times released. College Game Day already announced where they're going for week 1. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a very, very good time. We're going to have a good time on this show, as we always do, man. So let's jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into it. Our top 25 teams, now that the transfer portal has settled down, now that the spring practice period is over, who are the top 25 teams in all of college football? Quick clearing of the throat. Let's get right to it. At number 25, I've got the Kansas Jayhawks, baby. Say it with me now. Football school. I love Bill Self. I love Kansas Jayhawk basketball. Kansas, to me, is a football school, baby, because Kansas, they bring back a lot of key pieces on offense. Jalen Daniels, to me, holds the key to what they could be. It's going to be a new OC. Jeff Grimes is going to be the OC. I don't think it makes a tremendous difference as to how they're going to be able to score. Devin Neal's a 1,200-yard back. Jalen Daniels is an absolute savage when he's healthy. Keyword, when he's healthy, and they bring back 3 receivers that were top 50 in yards per catch. I love the way they play defense, super aggressive on the perimeter. Kobe Bryant, that's spelled C-O-B-E-E, Bryant, really rangy corner for them. I think he's quietly one of the better defensive backs in all of college football, so keep an eye on him. Kansas last year, I believe they went out and they had 3 of their 4 losses by 1 score. By 1 score. Okay, so Kansas, we could have very well been sitting here during conference championship weekend and saying, well, Kansas are sitting there at 11-1, about to go to Jerry World. Wasn't the case. But look at what Lance Leipold's done out there, man. They're cooking with gas. They're going to be a very, very difficult out there in the Big 12. Kansas, for me, the 25th best team in America as we sit here after spring practice and after the portal. Now, this is one that's going to make some folks mad, and we're okay with that. We're just fine with that. Nebraska, to me, is the 24th best team in the country heading into fall camp. And I can already hear, well, JD, they haven't made a bowl game since 2016. Save it. All right, what we're doing here, when we look at Nebraska, look at what they have on the roster. They bring back 78% production from last year's defense that allowed 18 points a game. 18 points a game. And they bring back their DC, who's going to be a head coach this time next year in Tony White. You say, well, their offense was tragic. It was tragic. Don't get it twisted. But the ground game, they averaged 175 yards on the ground. So what does that tell you? The quarterback was a revolving door last year for that position. It's Jeff Sims, it's Trevor Purdy, it's Heinrich Harburg. Dylan Raiola, though he hasn't been named the starter at this point in time, I'm just going to tell you, all of our eyeballs work just fine. We saw him in the spring football game. If he is just serviceable for Nebraska, just serviceable. I'm not talking about being an all Big Ten kind of player. Doesn't have to throw for 40 touchdowns. If he's like 20 touchdowns to 5 to 7 interceptions, Nebraska's going to be more than fine. And Nebraska will make a bowl game and maybe even do more than that. I think it's also fair for us to not predict but assume that a Matt Rule football team will do what it's done over the course of his last 2 stops at Temple and Baylor and take a jump in year 2 from year 1. The thing with Nebraska, they're at a much better jumping off point than Temple or Baylor ever were. Nebraska got them at 24. Feel pretty confident having them in that spot. At number 23, Arizona Wildcats, baby. Arizona Wildcats. Now, they are under new management. Jed Fish has gone to Washington. Brent Brennan comes over from San Jose State, going to be the head ball coach for them there. Yes, they lose their head coach, but they don't really lose quite as much production as you would think. They bring back 66% production from last year's squad, and they had 10 wins, 3 losses. 2 of those losses now came in overtime. They bring back Tetaroa McMillan, who I think is the best wide receiver, if not one of the best wide receivers in college football. Him and Luther Burden, you probably have a discussion there. And then you bring back Noah Fafita, who's going to be your quarterback. So they got Batman and Robin out there running the show for them offensively. I love the way they're built. They're going to be a problem in the Big 12, man. I'm telling you now. They're kind of flying under the radar a little bit for, I think, most people across Big 12 country because they're a new ad, and Utah's getting a lot of the shine, and Kansas State's fun to talk about. But Arizona, man, just because they got a new head coach does not mean that team won't pick up where they left off last season. Love Arizona. We got them at 23. Now at 22, a team that's really been the same for, I don't know, last 5, 10, 15 years with Kirk Ferentz running the show out there. Iowa, to me, was the hardest team to rank in this top 25. And the reason being, they don't have anything that resembles an offense. They haven't had anything that resembles an offense for some time now. So you bring in Tim Lester now to be the offensive coordinator. Cade McNamara, you hope he gets back healthy if you're an Iowa fan. And even with that being said, even as bad as they were offensively last year, still won 10 ball games. So you have to ask the question, this is the million-dollar question that Iowa fans have been asking here for a hot minute. What if we had an offense? What if we had someone who could allow this unit to score, 27, 28 points a game? How many games are we winning? Now there's a shift in the way the Big Ten is set up now because the Big Ten West, rest in peace, doesn't exist anymore with the new structure. They're gone divisionless in the Big Ten, Hunger Games style. For what it's worth, they do bring back 80% of last year's production offensively, so there's some continuity there for whatever you make of that. Iowa, as good as that defense is, and as much as they bring back as a team, I think you got to put them in the top 25. I got them at 22. They're going to be a tough out. Regardless, man, they're going to be a tough out any way you slice it. At 21, staying in the Big Ten, or in the Big Ten, staying in the Big 12, so we talked about Arizona already. I got Oklahoma State. And here's the thing with Oklahoma State, man. Death, taxes, and Mike Gundy having a competitive freaking football team, man. Over the course of the last 5 seasons, 4 of those, Oklahoma State has won 8 or more games. Over the last 3 seasons, they've won double-digit games twice. They bring back a pretty solid amount of production. I believe they're top 5 in the country in returning production as a team. You bring back Alan Bowman for his 37th year of college football. Shouts to Alan Bowman. You hang on to that helmet. You hang on to that jersey as long as you possibly can until they take it away from you. This is a team that went and played for the Big 12 title last year. You bring back Ollie Gordon, 1,700-yard back last year. Like they got some pieces now. They got some pieces in-house, and I'm very excited to see what they end up being. Another team now, kind of flying under the radar. You're hearing a lot about the new additions. You're hearing about UCF and all they did in the portal. Oklahoma State is going to be a very, very tough out. So Mike Gundy, wish he kept the mullet. Maybe he's growing it back. I don't know. Probably should grow it back if you're asking us, but Oklahoma State, for us, the 21st best team in America heading into 2024. At number 20, we got Texas A&M. And wouldn't it be the most college football thing ever if after all of the buzz around A&M the last couple of seasons with how they recruited and all the talent they had in-house and a lot of those guys transfer out, if this were the year where they pop and go on a run and make some noise in the SEC and maybe make the college football playoff? I'll say this, man. I like the pieces. I don't know how it's going to fit together just yet, but I like Connor Wegman. I like Noah Thomas. I like that running back room. I like what they have on defense. We're going to learn a lot about them. That first game of the season in Kyle Field, Notre Dame comes to town. College game day is going to be there. It'll be electric in the air. October 5th, too, against Missouri is going to be a really good litmus test for us, for A&M. I think the big thing we talk about with A&M is how much they had in-house and how much talent they've had previously. A lot of that talent, I think, is still there. Not as much as you used to have, but it's still there. But you look at who's running the whole show for you now. Mike Elko, dude, at Duke. God bless Duke. I love Duke. There's no shot I could have gotten into Duke. But, I mean, Mike Elko just did a lot more with less at Duke than what he's going to be able to do at Texas A&M. So, bottom line, better pieces, a lot of pieces in College Station. For me, A&M, the 20th best team in America. So that's our top 25 through 20. To recap it, we got Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona at 23, Iowa at 22. If we can get some offense, Iowa might be able to generate a little bit more juice there. At 21, I got Oklahoma State, and at 20, I got Texas A&M. All right. If you're watching live, thank you. Make sure you like the video. We're going to keep on rolling here. We're into the teens now. And who better to start us off into the teens at number 19, the reigning Pop-Tart Bowl champions, Kansas State Wildcats. Dude, Kansas State is going to be so annoying to play against. Like, scheming up against this offense is going to be just absolutely miserable every single week because the rushing attack legitimately has three different options. You got Avery Johnson, who is going to be absolutely electrifying for you playing quarterback, a real home run hitter when he tucks it and runs. You got Dylan Edwards, who transferred over from Colorado, came back home to Kansas, is playing for Kansas State, and the DJ Giddens is a 1,200-yard back that no one seems to be talking about. You got to pick your poison, especially if they go split backs back there. Little read option. Who's got it? Is it Avery Johnson around the corner? Is it Dylan Edwards to the left? It's going to be miserable. I also think Jace Brown is quietly one of the better receivers in that conference. We'll see what they do with him this year. You know they're going to be physical. You know they're going to be tough. Chris Kleiman has picked up right where Bill Snyder left off with the identity of that football team. They bring back 80% production on defense from a unit that allowed 22 points a game last season. So, yeah, they're going to be tough yet again. I love the schedule for them. I do, man. I love the schedule for them. Arizona, Friday the 13th, in Manhattan, Kansas. A little spooky there. You're at home against Oklahoma State. You get Kansas at home. No UCF on the schedule. No Utah on the schedule. Also worth noting, yes, they made a pickup in the portal with Dylan Edwards. They also made a big pickup in the fan transfer portal, grabbing my guy Robbie Triano, who was previously a BYU fan, now hitting the portal, headed to Kansas State to be a Wildcat fan. So shouts to Robbie. Does great content. Go check him out. At number 18, I got USC. And USC is a little bit of a tricky one to evaluate here because Caleb Williams was the Heisman Trophy winner, and they go 7-5 the season after he wins the Heisman. Still scored a lot of points. The defense was abysmal. You fire your DC. It's a brand new staff. So, again, we're not trying to project here, but I do think with USC, we can allow for some benefit of the doubt on this show, right? Like, we can maybe assume a little bit that Lincoln Riley's pretty good at this whole offensive football thing. Maybe, just maybe, whether it's Jaden Mayava or Miller Moss, they're going to have somebody more than capable at quarterback for them. Now, Miller Moss, just so we're on the same page here, was throwing lasers during that Holiday Bowl. I mean, Heise Miller, I tried to get it trending unsuccessfully. I think he's going to be the guy for you there. I think that USC offensively, regardless of how they look on paper right now, will still be able to score a lot of points even in the Big Ten. Zachariah Branch, when we get College Football 25, the video game, I'm going to be very tempted to not play with USC right when I get that thing because he's just, I mean, he's first-team all-joystick. Shades of Reggie Bush last year when the entire country got to see him for the first time. Here's the pushback we're going to hear. If you don't have USC this high in your top 25, or you don't have him in your top 25 at all, it probably has something to do with Lincoln Riley and his defense. That to me has never really made a ton of sense, because I understand as a head coach, you're in charge of the entire football team. No way around it. You're in charge of how you practice as a football team. No way around it. But Lincoln Riley is not calling any plays on the defensive side of the football. Lincoln Riley is not putting together that defense. Previously, that was Alex Grinch. He's no longer there. So I'm assuming here that D'Anton Lynn is going to be, at the very worst, a cut above what they had the last couple of seasons at USC. Whole new setup. Still have Bear Alexander there on the defensive line. It's a key piece for you. But I mean whole new setup in terms of how they're approaching things. That's pretty much what Lincoln Riley has said as they're moving into spring, as they move out of spring practice and as they moved into spring practice. They're going to go and reevaluate everything. Reevaluate how they did things during practice. Reevaluate how they did things schematically at USC. So keep an eye on how that formulates. We're going to find out pretty quickly just how seamlessly it's coming together at USC, because they open in Las Vegas with LSU. That's going to be the best movie to take place in Las Vegas since The Hangover. They go to Michigan, they got Penn State, and they got Notre Dame. The schedule was not kind by any stretch of the imagination if you're a USC fan, but again, got to be some benefit of the doubt built in there for Lincoln Riley. They'll be fine on offense. How do they look first year in the Big Ten on defense remains to be seen, but I'm believing that D'Anton Lynn and Eric Henderson are going to be able to create some new juice on defense. Not saying they're going to be one of the best units in the country, but I think they're going to be a little bit more serviceable than what they've been previously. Now at number 17, and I did not put these two teams so close together on purpose, but it worked out this way. At number 17, I got Oklahoma. And Oklahoma could be in a Dos Equis commercial. They're the most interesting team in the world to me, or at least in the college football world. I love the defense. All right, I love the defense. Dominique Williams was a massive get, both literally, because that's a big boy, and metaphorically for that defense. Danny Stutzman is back. He's a dude. 79% of last year's production on defense is back. That allowed 24 points a game. I don't think they miss a beat on defense as they move into the SEC. I'm not saying there won't be some growing pains and they won't have some games where they got to kind of adjust that half and figure it out, but I think from a personnel standpoint, they have what they need moving into the SEC. I love the skill. Love the skill, man. Like, nobody's talking about Oklahoma's skill, and I quite frankly don't get why. Deion Burks, did you see what he did in the spring game? I'm not talking about other people in the college football public. I'm talking about you and I, because we're college football sickos. We watch spring games. It's a filthy habit of ours. Deion Burks went for like $1.75 in the spring game. And I'm not saying that the spring game is the end-all, be-all, but if that's the preview to the movie, there's reason for excitement. Angelo Anthony, he was balling last year before he got hurt. Jalil Farouk is still there. Like, they got some weapons for him now. The key question marks are twofold for me. The offensive line, you replace essentially that whole unit. We'll see how they get up to speed, because it's tough to get up to speed in the SEC on the line of scrimmage when you got just absolute freak shows lined up across from you. And then how quickly does Jackson Arnold get up to speed? To me, those are the two differences, or those are the two variables that make the difference between winning 10 games and then going the under on the over-under win total on your 7.5 win total. So I'm very fascinated by them. I think Oklahoma has a lot under the hood. Those two things getting up to speed are really what I'm watching most closely. Quick cough break, and we're back. All right, at number 16, Clemson Tigers. And Dabo Swinney, if you were watching the social media sphere yesterday, Dabo Swinney went on a show on the ACC network, I believe it was, and gave an all-time line. They asked him about the portal, and he starts answering it, and you kind of see this soft smile start to develop on his face, like you know he's about to say something funny. He's about to hit you with a joke. And he says, yeah, actually, when we think about it, every player on our roster is a transfer. Everyone that we signed is a transfer. We just got them from a transfer from their high school to the college level. And it was like, all right, like it's a little bit of some self-awareness there, some good-natured humor there. They have the second best odds to win the ACC. So say what you want about the portal, say what you want about Dabo, say what you want about Clemson. Vegas thinks they're going to be pretty freaking good. Defense loses a lot of production. Doesn't scare me. They're still going to be, I think, more than solid on that side of the football. Barrett Carter is a heat-seeking missile playing linebacker for them. Peter Woods was a true freshman last year, looked nothing like it when you watched him play. The thing with Clemson and their path to success in 2024 is the same path to success that you and I have on the 4th of July. All about the explosives. All about the fireworks. Last year, Clemson averaged right around 6 yards a pass. Good for 121st in the country. Y'all, that's not going to cut it, especially if you expect to make the college football playoff. Even in a 12-team field, that's not going to cut it. The good news, though, if you're a Clemson fan, you got some pieces on that roster, I think, at the wide receiver position that are young but present a little bit more optimism. Antonio Williams, you know what he is. Tyler Brown came on strong last year. You got two freshmen that I think are going to end up seeing the field one way or another earlier. That's Bryant Wesco, had himself a spring game, and then TJ Moore, who if you watched any of the All-Star games, he tore up his All-Star game. I mean, he was doing pretty much whatever he wanted during that All-Star game against some of the best talent in the country. So I like those guys and how they could project. Garrett Riley, Cade Klubnik, handshake emoji. Can we get it together here? Can we manufacture some explosives? Can we get Cade Klubnik comfortable his second year in the system? Because Garrett Riley, we saw what he did at TCU. Dude knows how to dial up a touchdown. Can they do it with the personnel they have now that's a little bit more explosive, maybe scares you a little bit more as a defense? Can they translate to the field? They got it on paper, I think. More so, can they translate to the field? I'm excited to watch Clemson this year. Number 16 for us in our top 25. Now, this is where we break into the top 15. At number 15, got the Tennessee Volunteers. It's Nico time, baby. The Tennessee faithful have been waiting for so long for this man to play quarterback. There were folks last year going into the season saying, well, hey, maybe we give Nico a shot if things don't go our way early. And Joe Milton kind of got a bad rap. It is what it is. But Nico Iamaleava, since he committed to Tennessee out of high school, there has been optimism. Since he has been in Knoxville, there's been optimism really for him to be the guy. If we're projecting Tennessee on this list, I maybe would have even put him a little bit higher for predicting success. I'm all about this offense. Chris Brazzell, transfer from Tulane. We saw him in person when we went up and saw them during spring ball. He is a dude. Tremendous catch radius. Dante Thornton, another year in the system. He looked solid during spring ball. Brew McCoy, hoping he can get back healthy and be a force for you. Squirrel White led your team in receiving last year. He's a dude. All these pieces, to me, are a major difference in what Joe Milton had last year and what Nico will have this year. Because Nico's got all the tools. Like Nico, from what I saw during spring ball, can make pretty much any and every throw. On the run, on time, however you want to slice it, he can probably get it done for you. That defense, though, is the big variable that's going to make the difference for them. They've taken major strides since 2022. James Pierce, if you saw the on-3 top 100 players in all of college football that came out today, James Pierce is number one for us. That's a dude right there, okay? So they feel really good about him in Knoxville, as do we here at On3. Some new pieces in the secondary. We'll see how those come together. All I'll say about Tennessee is this. Don't let the boys get hot. Same vibes as 2022. If you get a little momentum those first 4 games of the season, kind of get things rolling, kind of like that team did where they beat Pitt, got some confidence, they got rolling, showed up for that third Saturday in October undefeated. Kind of the same vibe I have with this team. If they can beat NC State, if they can beat Oklahoma in Norman, roll into that third Saturday in October against Alabama with a 0 in the loss column, look out. Look out, because if they get some confidence, they get Nico comfortable, they could get rolling in a very real way. So Tennessee for me is at number 15 in our top 25. At number 14, I got the Miami Hurricanes. And the Cam Ward effect out there in Coral Gables, it's real. He's generating some very real buzz. And I said this before, I'll say it again. Miami, to me, reminds me so much of how we were talking about Texas this time last year. Because everybody was talking about Texas and the preseason hype and what they were supposed to do and how much they would let people down if they didn't do X, Y, and Z thing. Like, people are saying the same thing about Miami right now. And notice a lot of those thoughts around Miami are based in, okay, well, now it's year 3. You've trended a certain way. Now it's year 3. What are you going to do? Same thing was said about Texas. Where's the culture at? They went 5-7 that first year. They went 8-4. What do they do in year 3? Go make the college football playoff. Miami, it's a wider field. I think it is a pretty open ACC, to be real with you. What did they do in year 3? Went 5-7, then they went 7-5. Should have been 8-4, but it is what it is. What did they do in year 3? Cam Ward changes the entire way you look at Miami. If you had Tyler Van Dyke still playing quarterback for you, maybe you're still somewhere in this top 25, but if you are, you're somewhere near that 25 to 20 spot in my mind. I love the moves they made via the transfer portal as well. I think that also, for me, bumps them up quite a bit from this rankings after spring than what they were pre-winter. Damian Martinez, absolute dude for you at running back. Sam Brown, burner for you at wide receiver. Simeon Barrow Jr., massive piece to add next to Ruben Bain on the defensive line. They have everything they need on this roster to go win the ACC. They have a blockbuster to start the year against Florida. That'll be tremendous. Go to the Swamp. That, to me, is going to be fascinating because that tells us a lot about where this team is at with the year 3 culture. Where are they at with the year 3 culture? Have they arrived at that spot just yet? Because if they are in a spot where it's a strong culture, it's solid, it's healthy, then that response mechanism that they have will be strong. They'll be able to bounce back from negative plays in a raucous environment, and that'll tell us a lot. The response mechanism, to me, is a reflection of the culture. We'll learn a lot about that week 1 against Florida. So for me, Miami is at number 14. At number 13 on our list, the Tigers from Baton Rouge. LSU is number 13. Again, this list is not about predictions, but this ranking, to me, has some assumption built into it. Like, I'm just assuming the LSU defense won't be as bad as it was last year. Now, you could assume it was going to be as bad as it was last year if you had the same staff in-house, but you don't have the same staff in-house. Brian Kelly saw what happened last year. They said, should we give it a year? Nope. He said, not good enough. Wipe my hands of this. Brings in Blake Baker from Missouri. Brings in Bo Davis from Texas to be the defensive line coach. Blake Baker is going to absolutely dial it up if you're an LSU fan on defense. Like, if you like to see quarterbacks being sacked, like to see pressure applied to the offense, that is Blake Baker's MO. They were top 10 in the country last year in terms of their sack rate defensively at Missouri. They're going to bring that same operation to LSU, I promise you. Still got Harold Perkins playing for you on that side of the ball. Quieter sophomore campaign than his freshman campaign, but let's not pretend that dude can't still play really good football. He's going to be a savage for you. I think they're going to utilize him a little bit better in this Blake Baker scheme, to be honest with you. The offense doesn't need to be last year's Ferrari. You lose Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, 3 first-round picks on the offensive side of the football to the NFL. Tough to bounce back from, and that's true. Garrett Nussmeier, if he just makes good decisions. I know there's a lot of discussion between me and the good folks on LSU Twitter about I've been trying to get Gumbo Gunslinger trending. It's been met with a little bit of opposition. I hear a lot about Nussbus. That's a great nickname. If you could call him Good Decision Garrett, how many games is LSU winning? Right? You kind of catch my drift there. He's going to be fine pushing the ball downfield. That's not a question. Can he make good decisions like he did in that spring game and get it to the playmakers? Because they got some playmakers on the outside right now. Kyron Lacey is a walking spring football propaganda machine with the highlights he puts up behind closed doors. I mean that in the most positive sense possible. He's a dude for you. It is his time now in Baton Rouge. CJ Daniels, very, very quietly, I said this previously, I'll say it again, one of the best portal pickups of anybody, I think, across the country in that previous transfer portal cycle. He's going to be a guy for you. 1,000-yard receiver from Liberty. Keep an eye on him. Let's have some faith in Brian Kelly. If you disagree with this ranking, that's okay. Reasonable people can disagree on stuff all the time. Let's have some faith in Brian Kelly. Since he got to LSU, all he's done is strut in there, have some people talk about his accent, and then he's had 2 10-win seasons. So, yeah, Brian Kelly can coach some football, and there's a couple of forces in the sports world that you kind of know what you're getting. Like, you see it happening, and you're like, oh, okay, this is probably going to be a bit of a long day for the opposition. In the NBA world, it is Hoodie Mello, it's untucked Kyrie Irving with his jersey, and it is year 3 Brian Kelly. Year 3 at Cincinnati, what'd they do? Made it to a BCS bowl game. Year 3 at Notre Dame, what'd he do? Go make it to a national title game. What does he do year 3 at LSU? I don't know, but he was very open with us when we talked to him on this show, and he's like, yeah, year 3 for me, usually we have a lot of success. So I'm banking that Brian Kelly knows what he's doing. I'm banking that he's still got a really solid roster in Baton Rouge, even with the lack of success they had defensively last year. But Regardless, LSU for us, just outside the top 12, we got them at number 13 in our top 25. Okay, so that brings us to, I guess, in theory, our spring college football playoff teams, our field of 12, if you will. So before we get to those, make sure you are subscribed right here. College football, nothing but college football all year long. Once y'all dialed in, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, at JD Pickell. I'm sure there will be some disagreements with this top 12. That's more than fine. We welcome that. We love and appreciate that. Get at me on there, and we'll have a good discussion. At number 12, in our post-spring, post-portal, top 25 and top 12 in this fashion, I got the Penn State Nittany Lions. If you're a Penn State fan, you've been sitting back for a while now. You've been listening to the slander, kind of had your arms folded, just kind of biting your tongue, nodding your head, and saying, just wait. Just wait. This upcoming season for us, we're ready. We've been keeping receipts. We're ready for it. This year has been a year they've circled for a while because of the young talent they've had in-house. Drew Aller going into year 3. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Abdul Carter, all 4 of those cats going into year 3. Part of a really solid recruiting class that James Franklin's put together. They're banking that this is the year that it all comes together and they hit it big and they win a whole lot of games. They make it to the college football playoff. They were saying that when it was a 4-team playoff. They have some new coordinators, all right? They have Tom Allen, previously the head coach at Indiana. He's now the new DC. And they got Andy Koltanecki, who is the OC at Kansas. I have no reservations about the defense. Doesn't matter if it's Manny Diaz. Doesn't matter if it's Tom Allen. Personnel is too good for my money for them to underachieve. I think the run game is going to be nasty because of the 2 dudes I just mentioned. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, arguably one of the better backfields in all of college football. Andy Koltanecki, to me, was a really good addition for them offensively because you look at what they didn't do last year. They weren't explosive, right? Like, it was water on fireworks. It wasn't explosive. They averaged 6.7 yards a pass last year, good for 86th in the country. Andy Koltanecki at Kansas, see what he did, check the resume. They averaged 10 yards of completion, or 10 yards an attempt, rather, at Kansas. It's good for number 2 in the country. So I'm not saying it's going to be a seamless transition, but I do think there's some cause for optimism there. I'm curious about who's making plays on the perimeter for Drew Aller. Keandre Lambert-Smith has gone to Auburn via the portal. You bring in Julian Fleming. We'll see how that translates. Got to have somebody on the outside to make plays for you because I don't think you had that last year. I don't think the scheme did him any favors, but I'm not out on Drew Aller. There's a lot of folks selling Drew Aller stock. I'm not one of them, but I am a little bit more waiting to see on what they're going to be. The schedule for Penn State, for the record, not killer. No Michigan, no Oregon. You get Ohio State at home. So I don't hate the way it shapes up for Penn State. For me, they're a top 12 team in the country after spring practice. This was a tough team to rank for me at number 11. I got Florida State. And the reason why they were tough to rank is because you see what Mike Norvell has done his past couple of seasons at Florida State, and you're like, well, hey, are they a top 10 team? I don't think you're wrong if you put them in the top 10. For me, it goes back to how we put this whole top 25 together. It is current ranking for what they are versus projection. Projection is what you're going to be in the future. We're ranking what you are right now. This ranking, to me, with them at 11, is a mix of them having the 83rd returning production in the country, lots of transfers, so those are the negatives in some sense. But then there's the positives that you pair with, well, Mike Norvell, for trusting somebody in the portal, that might be the guy to trust. And then on top of that, the feeling in Tallahassee is they think this is the most talented roster Mike Norvell has had since he's been there. Period, mic drop, the end. And that's not just like a one-off thing you hear on a message board over at War Chant. That's like across the board, hey, this team's going to be really freaking good. More talent than they've ever had. That's the feeling. Love the defense. Yes, you lose Braden Fisk, lose Jared Verse, Patrick Payton, he's still there. Josh Farmer, they love. Darrell Jackson, they love. Marvin Jones Jr. from Georgia, they feel really excited about. I love the backfield. Keziah Holmes, Roydell Williams coming over from Bama. Got some dudes now to carry the mail. Can DJU just run the show? Can he just put it in cruise control, get the boys in the carpool lane and just run the show and keep us out of traffic and keep from having this start-stop situation offensively? Keep us out of traffic. If he can be 25 touchdowns, 5 picks, right around 5 rushing touchdowns, I think that's going to be more than good enough. And here's the thing. That's about what Jordan Travis was at Florida State. Jordan Travis was a tremendous leader, made great plays with his legs, got the ball to the right person. But, like, from a stat sheet perspective, Jordan Travis wasn't, like, lighting it up every single Saturday. That's no shade on Jordan Travis. I'm just trying to paint the picture here. If you are a Florida State fan, you don't need to ask for the moon and stars from DJU. Just like, hey, DJ. Hey, DJ. That's my DJ. Okay, but you need to make sure you go to the right place with the football. That's the thought. DJ, get us in the right spot, go to the right place with the football, and we'll be in good shape. Schedule is intriguing now. You got the DJU Bowl in Tallahassee when Clemson comes to town, and then you're at Miami, at Notre Dame, and you finish with Florida at home. Those are the big four that I got circled if you're Florida State. If it's a prediction, I might have them a little bit higher, but I got Florida State at 11 for us right now. At number 10, we got Missouri, led by Mr. Brady. Let him cook. Man, this, to be real, this might be the swaggiest team in college football based on an attitude perspective, and it all starts at the top with Coach Drink. Like, we had him at SEC Media Days sit down with Andy Staples, and so the way SEC Media Days works, it's a big radio row. It's a big hustle and bustle. People are moving around from table to table, station to station, and as Eli Drinkwitz sits down at the table, I peep his shoes, and my guy is wearing, like, chrome gold, I forget if they were Dunks or Jordan 1s. Like, he was stepping in something there, man. Like, he was feeling confident based on wearing those shoes. And so I think his team embodies that. Brady Cook brings that to the table. Luther Burden may very well be the best wide receiver in college football. They bring back 79% production from last year's offense that scored 32 points a game. They bring back 68% production as a whole team that won 11 games last year and won the Cotton Bowl and beat Ohio State. Now, my big question is, can you recreate the magic? All right, can we go to Hogwarts, take a few classes, and get the magic on track, keep it rolling? You won 4 games by 1 score last year. That's tremendous. You never apologize for getting the dub, but I'm curious how that translates from one year to the next. Schedule isn't wild now. Schedule's a lot of things, but wild's not one of them. No Georgia, no Texas, no LSU. Auburn could be a little bit sneaky, so we'll keep an eye on that, but you're at A&M, at Bama. You get Oklahoma at home. Those are the 3 that I would watch most closely. For me, Missouri, based on what they did last year, what they got coming back, the swag. I mean, I love the attitude of the team. I'll just be real here. Top 10 team in the country for me after spring practice. This is a team that's going to be fun to watch this upcoming season, man. At number 9, Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And what Marcus Freeman has said since he's gotten to South Bend has been saying, hey, challenge everything. Challenge everything from the way that we do things schematically, from what we do during the offseason, the way we do things on game day. We're going to challenge everything to make sure we get to the very best version of ourselves. And coaches have sayings all the time, man. Like, every coach has a saying. They'll put on a T-shirt. They'll throw on the wall. For Marcus Freeman, it ain't just a T-shirt. It's not, based on how he's operated since being the head coach at Notre Dame. Last season, you could roll into the year with Tyler Buckner if you want to. He says, no, I'm going to go to the transfer portal, get Sam Hartman, challenge everything. We'll be better. We'll roll with him. It is what it is. Cold world, no blanket. This year, you could go back to your depth chart, see what you're going to have there, and say, all right, hey, is C.J. Carr good enough to play as a true freshman? Do we roll that way? Hey, we like Angeli. He looked good in the bowl game. We roll with him. Goes and gets the guy from Duke and Riley Leonard. He's dinged up during spring ball, but still he's going to be a guy for you. They upgrade at quarterback is my feeling. I like the defense, especially the secondary. Xavier Watts, Benjamin Morrison. A lot of schools would absolutely kill to have one of those dudes on the roster. They got both of them. The game changer for me offensively is what they have at the skill positions. Like that wide receiver room, they went to the portal and got themselves some extra juice. Chris Mitchell, Jaden Harrison, both absolute studs for you. Bring some more speed to that room. Jeremiah Love is a running back that can catch it for you out of the backfield. He's great between the tackles. Love the way he gets downhill. He might be the best running back in America that nobody's talking about. Going to introduce himself in a very real way to the entire country. So just quick heads up, he's going to be a dog for you. Mike Denbrock's got the boys buzzing because you saw what he did at LSU last year. You saw how many points a game they scored and what he did with Jaden Daniels and the fact they had 3 first-round picks on that offense. Like, Notre Dame's going to be very, very tough to beat if they're able to translate even a version of what he was last year at LSU under Mike Denbrock to what they are this upcoming season at Notre Dame. They can bottle that up, carry that over. Going to be a lot of fun to watch them. They're at A&M week 1. That'll be a movie. Florida State at home and at USC are the ones that I would watch most closely for Notre Dame. Outside of that, though, I don't see a ton of games where Notre Dame's going to have like this tremendous roster, discrepancy from what they're playing against. Like most games, Notre Dame should have the talent roster advantage. And even in that game against Florida State and A&M and USC, like it's a little bit more comparable. So Notre Dame, to me, a top 10 team in the country after spring, challenge everything, not just a T-shirt, for Marcus Freeman and company. At number 8, I got Utah. And Utah, to me, is a lot like a Krispy Kreme donut. The more that I look at it, the more that I examine it, the more I like it. Cam Rising, when he's healthy, all he does, walk out there, win conference titles, go to Rose Bowls. Wasn't healthy last year. Brent Keithy wasn't healthy last year. They get both those cats back in the lineup and add them into a roster that was top 20 in returning production from last year. The defense allowed 20 points a game. So they're going to be good on defense. They're going to have, I think, a pretty solid product at quarterback. I would have Utah a lot higher if I knew without a shadow of a doubt what I was getting from Cam Rising. But nonetheless, man, they should be a top 10 team to start the year for us here on this show. Kyle Whittingham has created an absolute machine out there in Salt Lake City. Utah is going to be a force in the Big 12. Like, I would be surprised, I'll say it right now, barring something wildly unforeseen, I would be surprised if we don't see Utah in Jerry World for the Big 12 championship. Now, do they win it? Whole other discussion, but I feel like we should have a pretty good gauge for the floor for Utah, and I think it's pretty high based on all they have returning and based on them getting their quarterback back. Now, at number 7, Michigan Wolverines. Let's put some respect on the champion's name. I understand that they lose a lot of pieces to the NFL. I understand they lost their head coach to the NFL. But they got a lot of dudes still on this roster that are going to play some very meaningful minutes in the fall that have some hardware to show for their efforts and for what they're going to be in 2024. Donovan Edwards, shouts to him. He's on the front of College Football 25. That's pretty sweet. He's back. Will Johnson could make a case for him being the best corner in all of college football. He's back. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, two-headed monster on the defensive line. They're back. Colston Loveland, arguably the best tight end in college football. He's back. So I understand there's some hesitancy with all the newness, all the new pieces. But even with all the new pieces, all the new production that they're going to have play for them this season, that championship way of doing things still very much there. And you can tell by the way they put this new staff together. Sharon Moore, hiring Wink Martindale to be his DC. Kind of the same thought process that they previously had under Jesse Minter running that DC last year, or running that defense last year. What they get at quarterback, to me, is the difference between winning 9 football games and winning the Big Ten for the 4th year in a row. It's Alex Orji, it's Davis Warren. We'll see what it is, but if they're able to have an extra gear offensively and they're able to push the ball downfield a little bit more than maybe what they would expect to have, that's going to change the game. Because I feel really confident they're going to be able to go pound the rock, get in a wrestling match with you, make you say uncle, make you submit. But if they can hit you over the top too, that's going to change the entire complexion of how we should view Michigan going into this season. So Michigan, for me, at number 7, heading into 2024. At number 6, this is so weird. This is so weird to talk about this team because of who they don't have as their head coach anymore. Alabama Crimson Tide. The Nick Saban era, we may never see another one like it in all of college football. 17 years of greatness, if you ask me. But they bring in Kalen DeBoer, who is still, I think, one of the best coaches in college football. And I think the offense with Jalen Milroe, it's going to be special. I really do believe that. I understand he's not the same kind of player that Michael Penix Jr. was at Washington. He's a different kind of player than what Jake Haener was at Fresno State under Kalen DeBoer. But Jalen Milroe does a lot of things that are just, quite frankly, unteachable that neither of those dudes were able to do, and that is run the football and be the best athlete on the field when he's back there playing quarterback. And so they're going to still have, I think, a lot of the past concepts that were successful for them at Washington installed for Alabama and for Jalen Milroe. And I think they're also going to make sure they utilize that skill set of Jalen Milroe running the football. Like, you're not having Jalen Milroe playing quarterback for you without having some design quarterback runs baked in there. And I've said this on multiple shows. I'll say it again right now. When you spread out a defense, the way that Kalen DeBoer is going to spread out a defense, you force that secondary and that second level of the defense to make business decisions. Because when I got a slot receiver way out there and I'm the outside linebacker, I cannot effectively play the run game and the pass game. I can't do it. You might be asked to do it. You can't do it effectively. So pre-snap, Jalen Milroe will, one, have a pretty good gauge as to what he's doing with that football. And second, if he does decide to tuck it and run, he's going to have a lot more space to work with, to make some dudes miss, and gash them for a big gain. So I think Alabama offensively will be phenomenal. Feel pretty confident saying that. The defense, it's a question mark to a degree just because it's unproven. You got some young cats on that side of the ball. Does it work quickly? You'd hope so, because you go to Wisconsin week 3. Still got tons of talent. Still got tons of talent that I think could find their footing if they're able to get through that first half of the season with some relative success and get some confidence. Schedule's interesting. I just mentioned at Wisconsin for Big Noon, Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. It's going to be a lot of fun. Georgia at home. You go to Tennessee, at LSU, at Oklahoma, finish with Auburn at home. For the most part, though, it's going to be a nice little road show for the folks following the Crimson Tide. So Alabama at 6. Nick Saban era has come and gone. It was phenomenal. But Kalen DeBoer now, I don't think you need to just lower your expectations because of the fact that he's, not Nick Saban. You can still expect to compete for national titles and still expect to make the college football playoff. I mean, the guy just did it last year at Washington, for crying out loud. At number 5, I got Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin watched this transfer portal cycle this past winter, looked at everyone around the table, probably was texting in the group chat with the SEC head coaches, looked at his chips and said, I'm all in. I'm all in, baby, because 2024, they know what they have on that offense. They know they got Jackson Dart for one more year, Trey Harris for one more year. They understand that. I promise you. They're well aware. They're also well aware that head coach at Alabama, Nick Saban, is no longer there. That used to be a final boss level for them. They also understand that it's a 12-team playoff now. So you don't have to win the SEC to make it in the dance, though Ole Miss, I think, will very much so be in that conversation. I love everything about this offense. Jackson Dart, I already mentioned, I think he's going to make a massive jump again from year 2 to year 3, rather, like he made a big jump from year 1 to year 2. Trey Harris is a beast. We already talked about him. You add in Juice Wells, who going into last season was in that discussion for one of the best wide receivers in the SEC before he got dinged up. Got him from South Carolina. The difference with this year's team, because Lane Kiffin's teams have always scored a lot of points. He's always found a way to scheme up some production. The difference with this, though, is Lane Kiffin went out and got some USDA-approved sirloin beef on the defensive line. Princely Umanmielen, call him an outside linebacker, call him an edge, call him whatever you want to call him. He's going to add in their run-stopping efforts. Walter Nolan, one of the best players in the transfer portal, going to be a massive factor for them on the defensive line. They have all the makings, I believe, of a college football playoff team. Are they going to win the SEC? We'll see, but they have all the makings to be a college football playoff team. The schedule, at LSU, Georgia at home, Oklahoma at home, it's tough, but it's not Hunger Games. It's not what Florida's dealing with. So for Ole Miss, I think, again, they have all the makings to be a college football playoff team. Lane Kiffin, all the chips to the middle, all in, baby. 2024, Ole Miss is thinking playoff, and they should be. And I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So that brings us now to our top 4. And I think most people across the country have the same top 4. They probably mix and match where they have these teams in order. But at number 4, I got Oregon. And if I could buy stock in college football head coaches, I would put the crib on Dan Lanning. If I had to start a college football team tomorrow and I couldn't hire Kirby Smart or Brian Kelly, I think I'd hire Dan Lanning. I might hire Dan Lanning just because I think the way that he views college football, the way he views talent acquisition and the importance on the line of scrimmage, he's got it dialed in, man. He's got it dialed in from that Kirby Smart and Nick Saban coaching tree. I love the way this team is built. As I just mentioned, on both sides of the line of scrimmage, they are more than ready for the Big Ten kind of competition they're going to play against. I think they'd actually be okay if they end up seeing an SEC team in the college football playoff. Also love the weapons on the perimeter. Tez Johnson, 1,000-yard receiver. You went out and got Evan Stewart from the transfer portal from Texas A&M, one of the best weapons in college football as well in his own right. He's going to be a factor for you. You went out to the portal and got Derek Harmon to be in the middle of that defensive line. Mateo Uiagalelei off the edge. Jordan Birch off the edge. Big Derek Harmon in the middle. Like, that's going to be a very scary sight when we get to the fall. Jabbar Hamid, he gave you fits last year at Washington. You say, hey, Jabbar, why don't you come play for us? You look good in green. He's now in Eugene. He's going to be a factor for them at corner. The difference with Oregon and why they're in my top 4. I mentioned the roster. It's a massive part of it. You can have a nice car. You can have good tires on it, a good engine, but if you don't have the right driver, then what do you have it for? Dillon Gabriel is the one that makes this whole thing go. The fact that he has an RPO background is going to allow him to have success very quickly at Oregon. Because the RPO, we've talked about it multiple times on this show, you have to make decisions very, very quickly, and Dillon Gabriel has had to do that throughout his career in this scheme. He's familiar with it, but also he's had a lot of experience playing college football. My guy's going into year 6, and more power to him. What I'm trying to say here is he's not going to be overwhelmed really in any situation, in my opinion, in any game that Oregon's in. Now, there's some high pressure, of course, throughout the course of this season for Oregon in different games. October 12th, when Ohio State comes to town, comes to mind as that high-pressure situation. But I think Dillon Gabriel has more than enough ability to get Oregon to where they want to and expect to go their first year in the Big Ten. At number 3, I got Texas. And Steve Sarkisian, man, he's just getting started. He's just getting started. Like, there's some thought now that Texas's last season was maybe a little bit of a fluke, and Texas, they're going to come back down to earth. I don't see it. I get you lost Adonai Mitchell, and you lost Byron Murphy, Devondre Sweat, you lost Xavier Worthy. I get all that. But the way that Steve Sarkisian has built this roster, they're built to go and do the same thing they did last year, in my opinion. Will they be as good on the defensive line? It's asking a lot to have 2 All-Americans at the defensive tackle position. Still got Alfred Collins up there. They're going to ask a lot of him. They feel like they are better at the second and third level of that defense compared to last season to help pick up the slack. And anytime Steve Sarkisian has the ingredients offensively to cook, like, good luck everybody else. They went and got Silas Bolden from Oregon State, went and got Matthew Golden from Houston, went and got Isaiah Bond from Alabama. Like, he's got some pieces. Amari Niblack from Alabama. He's got some pieces now to cook. And so I have a hard time believing that Steve Sarkisian isn't going to acclimate those guys into this offense effectively. And then you got a quarterback going into his 3rd year at Quinn Ewers, who I think is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and you hope and pray he can stay healthy. October 19th against Georgia in Austin is going to be absolutely fascinating. I cannot wait to watch that game. It's going to tell us a lot about both rosters. But right now, I think Texas, the way they're built, the way they're trending, the culture that's been built internally at Texas as well, they're no longer this, oh, woe is me, poor culture kind of attitude at Texas. You saw the way they responded last year after the loss to Oklahoma and how they responded after losing Quinn Ewers and being able to fight and scratch and claw and find different ways to win ball games. I'm very excited about Texas this year. They are number 3 for me in our top 25 heading into 2024. Now at number 2, and I'll pause right here. I could see you having an argument for either one of these teams as the number 1 team in the country. I understand that. Now, with that being said, we stand on business on this show, so we feel pretty confident in our ranking here with these top 2. And number 2, I got Ohio State. Ryan Day's not messing with y'all, man. Ryan Day's heard all the slander, heard all the talk, all the jokes. He hears all of it. And all he did this past portal cycle was go out into attack mode. Quinshon Judkins, come play for us. Caleb Downs, come play for us. Caleb Downs, the best player in the transfer portal. You didn't even really need Caleb Downs if we're going to keep it a buck. You bring back pretty much everyone from last year's defense that was one of the best units in the country. You didn't really need to go get Quinshon Judkins. You had Travion Henderson, but they add some more depth, and they're going to be a force running downhill. You bring in Will Howard, who you definitely didn't need, quote-unquote, to add, because you had your starting quarterback coming back in Kyle McCord if you wanted him. They're continuing to push the envelope. They get what it's about. It's no secret. They understand that the standard is national title or bust. It's what comes with being Ohio State. It comes with that logo that you put on your gear every single day. I think they upgraded at quarterback. I really do. I know there's some thought that Kyle McCord and Will Howard are kind of the same player. I don't see that at all from an experience standpoint, from a mobility standpoint. And then also, I think it's fair to assume that Will Howard could be a whole lot better than he was at Kansas State with a better play caller in Chip Kelly right there and having better weapons around him with Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, that backfield I just mentioned. Like, I think Will Howard could be set to have his best season as a college football player. And that, to me, would signal Ohio State is probably playing for a national title. So it's not a prediction, but I think right now Ohio State is one of the best teams in all of college football. We got them at number 2 in our post-spring top 25. So that just leaves one team here. That just leaves one team. And that is the Georgia Bulldogs are the number 1 team for us after spring ball and after the portals kind of settled down in the entire country. In Georgia, there's the obvious things with them, right? The roster itself is enormously talented. I think them and Ohio State have a pretty good amount of distance between them and the rest of the country. The defense, it's Kirby Smart. Like, is that a fair explanation, a fair analysis for what that defense is going to be? It's Kirby Smart. You got Smile Munden back. That linebacker room is going to be disgusting with C.J. Allen. Mykel Williams is going to make a whole lot of money in the NFL as an edge. They got some dudes, all right? The offensive side of the ball is where it really gets interesting to me because Carson Beck is the best quarterback in college football. I'm fine saying that. The thing with him, though, he gets another year in the system where he completed over 70% of his passes last year. Now, you don't have Brock Bowers. It's not ideal to not have Brock Bowers, regardless of who you are, but they did go out and add Colby Young, London Humphreys. Dom Lovett gets another year in the system, and he popped in that spring game. Trevor Etienne is back there for you at running back. You got Roger Robinson. Like, there's just so many pieces offensively for Georgia to be dominant, and it starts up front with that offensive line. The buzz in Athens is they feel really good about those big boys up front, man. Like, they think they have as good a unit as they've had in some time, I believe, out there in Athens by how they're talking about them. Georgia's going to be a force. And the scary thing about Georgia going into 2025, and I don't know if you factor this so much into the ranking with them being number one right now, but when you start to predict Georgia in the future, I would factor in the reality that they are not coming off of their third national title in a row. Like, they missed on their expectation last year. Didn't win the Natty, didn't win the SEC. So right now, Kirby Smart isn't having to tell these guys, like, hey, people are saying we're going 8-4, 7-5. Nobody really bought into that anyway. But they understand, like, a lot of these guys came back, Carson Beck most notably, because they want to win their own national title. A lot of these guys have been on those teams, probably played a role in some of those national titles, but they want to win it as a starter. They want to play to their standard internally at Georgia. So Georgia, from a roster perspective, from a coaching staff perspective, continuity perspective, weapons perspective, they are, to me, the best team in the country after spring practice. So we'll recap this top 12 for you. We've kind of gone through the top 25 here, but we'll go through just the top 12 for you. At 12, we got Penn State. 11, we got Florida State. At 10, we got Mizzou, one of the swaggiest teams in the country, if you're asking me. Notre Dame at 9, Utah at 8, Michigan at 7, Alabama at 6, Ole Miss at 5. I got Oregon at 4, Texas at 3, Ohio State at 2. Ryan Day's on a mission, and Georgia is in hunting mode yet again, the number one team in the country for us after spring practice. So a lot to jump into there, a lot to unpack together, and I'm sure we'll get some good feedback from y'all via the live chat. So get in the live chat right now. We got a quick ad read to get to from Roback, but get in the live chat right now, get at Nick Break, and we will unpack this discussion together around these top 25 teams. All right, so very pleased to let y'all know the hard count is being brought to y'all by our friends over at Roback. Now, Roback is a company that supported this show for some time now. Even when we were doing it in Waco, Texas, they were with us. They're with us here as we're doing it now at a national level in Nashville, and we appreciate them tremendously for that. Roback has got you taken care of pretty much for whatever you need on a game day. And I understand now weather is getting a little bit more warm, heating up a little bit. And some of these polos, man, like let's just call a spade, not comfortable, easy to sweat through, not super durable. Roback, not an issue. Moisture wicking technology, got some stretching material on it there. It's comfortable, going to last you the entirety of a hot game day, going to last you the entirety of a hot day on the golf course. Whatever you're using the polo for, Roback, probably the best way to go about it. In fact, no, I know it's the best way to go about it. Also, they got a lot of other products to get you rolling into summer, from swimsuits to shorts to, I mean, you name it, they got it. So also business pants if you want to wear some of those, joggers if you want to wear some of those, Roback, they got you covered. Also, worth noting, Roback leading the NIL charge when it comes to the entire sphere around college sports. Signed guys like Jalen Milroe, Kate Klubnik, Nick Singleton. Like they've had a pretty large hand in the efforts on the NIL front for those guys and for other athletes alike. So here's what we're going to do. Use code JD at roback.com for 20% off your first purchase. Again, that's code JD, no periods, at roback.com for 20% off your first purchase. That's spelled RHOBACK BACK.com. Go ahead and use that code. Save yourself some money and get yourself something nice to get rolling here as we get through the spring and into the summer. All right, let's get it started, baby. Let's get it rolling. He did not want to talk about the kickball game, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to go right to it, and that is the man, the myth, the legend behind this whole show, heavy lifter extraordinaire, Nick Brake. Nick, not even talking kickball. We're getting right to it. We're getting right to it. What's the live chat saying?
Not a good game.
Not a good game. So, hey, it happens to everybody. Happens to all of us.
It was bad. King Malik says, JD, is the Gators schedule actually that hard, or are they capping?
It is that hard. There's it's like a nice restaurant, no cap in sight. No caps allowed. It is. I mean, they got 8 preseason ranked opponents. Now, some of those teams might be ranked at a different spot when they play them, but like from a roster to roster comparison, it's gonna be a tough schedule. And that's why I think if you're talking about Billy Napier and his job security, they could go 6-6, be 7-5, and be like a top 30 team in America, which I understand sounds crazy, but given the Hunger Games schedule, which we've called it a lot on this show, I think it's fair to maybe grade him on a curve this season. I'm not saying that you can't have your opinions about what should happen or shouldn't happen at the head coaching position, but I think that the schedule really is that hard, and I think they should evaluate him and his performance on this team accordingly.
I just don't appreciate my co-producer River coming in here and asking me how kickball went. He was at the game. He watched it.
That's
tough,
man.
It didn't go well.
That's tough. It's okay, though. Everybody has those kind of games.
That's true.
You know?
Dezu says even Messi lost some games, too.
Even Nick Saban lost to, like, UL Monroe. Okay?
That's true.
This is your UL Monroe. That's all it is.
I guess
You're Nick Saban is what I'm trying to get at here.
That's what I'm hearing.
You know? You're Nick Saban.
He wasn't a very good football player, though, was he?
Nick Saban, I mean.
I don't know. I mean, he's obviously the GOAT at coaching. But
yeah, I think whatever he did as a coach probably.
I'm not a kickball coach, though. So
yeah, that's all right. I mean, not yet.
After I retire.
We'll see.
Maybe after retirement.
We'll see.
Question from Jared. Right now, if you had to choose post-spring ball, who wins? Michigan, Oregon?
I'll take Oregon, man. Because I feel like I know more about Oregon. Like Michigan, super high ceiling. There's no way around that. But I don't know what they're going to be, depending on who plays quarterback. Not sure what they're going to be at the skill positions outside of Donovan Edwards and Colston Loveland. So I love Michigan. Again, I think they can roll the ball out there and win 9 games. But I'm not totally sure that I would take them over Oregon right now. I would take Oregon.
JD, every On3 video producer in the world is in the chat right now. Jackson Odette is in the chat. He's being nice, though. The truth, not a football question. What nostalgic song do you just start singing out of pure boredom?
Wow, out of pure boredom?
Mm-hmm.
It probably has to do with whatever I've heard most recently. Like, I don't think I have a nostalgic song. Times Are A-Changin'. That one kind of pops in my head quite a bit, if that counts as nostalgic. Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce. That's a good one. Do you have an answer to this?
Anything by Sam Cooke.
Yeah, okay.
The GOAT.
That's a good one.
Anything
Him and Brady
Sam
Cook. Potentially related, we think?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. What do you say? One more, Nick?
Yeah, one more.
Let's wrap it up.
Get a good one. Yeah, we got one more. Okay, here we go. Goat Dog. Thanks for coming, Goat Dog. Says, who's your favorite super senior this year?
To me, it's Dylan Gabriel. Like, the fact that he's playing his 6th year is just fun. I'm all about that. Play football as long as you possibly can until they take the helmet and the jersey off you. I think he's going to have a really, really good 6th year as well, and to hopefully help his NFL draft stock quite a bit there. So I'll go with Dylan Gabriel at Oregon to be my favorite super senior. I think he's kind of the end of the COVID era for like guys that got extra eligibility. I think he's a part of that last class. Like, I don't think we'll see a ton of 6-year guys after this. Just my feeling. Awesome. Well, Nick, I appreciate you, brother. Good week. We'll run it back on Tuesday. You are going somewhere this weekend. Is that accurate?
I'm going to meet my sister's boyfriend this weekend.
Bad day to be a sister's boyfriend. Tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
We going to give him a hard handshake, or what's the protocol?
I'll probably bow, pay tribute.
Oh, really? We're not going to rough him up?
No.
Or a little mind game?
No. I'll be very kind.
Be very kind.
Very
That's how,
cordial.
I mean, and then you kind of do good cop, bad cop, but you'll be the same cop. Like you'll be good cop, bad cop from situation to situation. Like you start with a bow, and then the next time you see him, you like throw an elbow in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps. Yeah, maybe.
I can tell you're considering this. I like that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what goes on.
Good deal. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Nick, appreciate you, brother.
See you later, man.
Nick, heavy lifter, break. Making the show happen. We appreciate y'all making the show happen, man. We appreciate y'all making this show what it is. Subscribe to the channel right here. Also, make sure you are following us on all the podcast platforms. So whether you get your podcast via Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, no judgment. I'm an Apple Replay guy when it comes to the end of the year. Some of my friends make fun of me. It's not a big deal. If you're an Apple Podcast person, you stick to your convictions. You can be an Apple Podcast person as long as you type in the hard count with JD Buckell, you rate and review, and you subscribe and all that good stuff. So helps us help you, and we appreciate you so much for that. This is an absolute blast. Our top 25 is now yours to tear to the absolute shreds. We love y'all. We love y'all for what you bring to the show. We love y'all for making the show what it is. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.